Welcome everybody to another episode of the Stephen King podcast. It's been a while, so it's nice to be back, and we have lots of news for you to cover, and we will also talk about the first 5 episodes of season 4 of Haven, and we will sum up the ending of Under the Dome and tell you what we thought about that.
That's right. But before we do that, it's time for some news. And there hasn't been a lot of big things, but there definitely have been some things since the last time we've been on. Of course, by this time, the first item up is that Dr. Sleep has been released, and it's at number 1 on the bestseller book list and has come to generally favorable reviews. So hopefully everybody's read the book by now or is in the process of reading it. Remember our last podcast, we did a Shining retrospective to bring everybody back up to speed before they read Dr. Sleep. So hopefully you will have a chance to enjoy that. And in our next podcast, we will have an in-depth review of the book.
Yes, and next up is a signing tour and reading tour that Stephen will do in Europe. And I think a few with me were surprised when he was actually announcing this one, because I went to London in 2006, and before that it was, I think, about 15-20 years since he was visiting Europe. Now he's back already, so that's fun for us Europeans. And this time he will be visiting France and Germany. And the first stop is in Paris. First, he will be doing a book signing on November 13. And for 2 hours, he will be signing books. So I would suggest everybody who's going to be there in time, because there won't be many books signed in 2 hours. I would guess like maybe 500 books. So if you want something signed, you better be there in time. Then on the 16th, he will be doing a reading that apparently is already sold out. So if you don't have a ticket, you are missing out. After that, he will be going to Germany and Munich, where he, on the 19th, will be doing a reading. And in Hamburg, the 20th November, he will also be doing a reading. Maybe a little disappointing to all German fans is that there will be no book signing in Germany. Your chance, if you want to get a signed book, is to go to the readings, and as I understand, there will be some pre-signed books. Not for everyone. They will be sold by a drawing from the tickets. So some of you will be able to get the pre-signed book there. Otherwise, you will just have to be happy to see King and hear King. Judged by how he was in London when I was there, you won't be disappointed.
Yes, absolutely. Any chance you can get to see King? Man just turned 66. You know, who knows how many tours he's got left in him or he's interested in doing. So you almost have to take every tour as the last one. And if you've got even the slightest chance to go, highly recommend you go.
Yeah, I thought the one in 2006 were the last one. So I'm even more thinking this will be the last one. So make sure you go.
Yeah. One of King's earlier projects from this year, Ghost Brothers, has gone on tour. And hopefully maybe some of our listeners have had the opportunity to see them. If they have, please send us some feedback through the widget, the TalkBack widget, or through Facebook. It had its premiere in Indiana back on October 11th. And actually, I would have been really interested to see this one because some of the lead actors included Bruce Greenwood, who's a favorite actor of mine. I liked him back on Nowhere Man, and fans probably know him most recently as his appearance in the last 2 Star Trek movies as Captain or Admiral Christopher Pike. So the play got a fairly good review, and it's on tour. You can check at Lilja's website for some dates, but it would be great to hear some feedback from some listeners on what they thought of the live show.
Yeah, we won't be seeing it, you and I, right?
No. It's not coming to my neck of the woods, sadly.
Yeah, no, mine neither. So tell us what you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, the book Cell is being turned into a movie. Even though I don't know how much has been done of it, I don't know if there's even a script, but what you do have is 3 sales posters. And if I got this right, these are posters that's done for promotion at different fairs and to get people to invest in the movie. And you can see them all 3 on my site. And I must say, I have some mixed feelings about them. I think the first one with the running low battery made me think of my iPhone.
Yeah, well,
It's often look like that.
mm,
And the second, it actually made me think of the Lawn Mover Man,
yeah,
which is not a good thing.
no.
And so my favorite is definitely the third one, and I like that font on the text as well better than the other ones. But it has John Cusack in the lead, so and that's
Good
always
actor.
promising.
Yeah, good actor.
Yeah.
Never
So,
seems to quite get to that AAA attached to a AAA type of project, so I'm a little worried about that.
yeah,
I thought he was really good in 1408, but it died in the last 10 minutes for me, that movie. But I don't put that blame on him. I thought he actually did quite a good job. And
yeah,
the Cell story, I guess my only concern is it's, to me, in my mind, I almost see him playing the same character they played in 1408. So
yeah,
I'm a little worried about that. And
yeah,
it's competing with The Walking Dead, and we just had Brad Pitt's World War Z. So it's going to have to do something innovative and new. And the cell phone idea is cool, but it's also kind of hokey. So I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
I have
It's
mixed feelings. It's not one of my favorite
yeah,
things.
it's getting little bit old with the cell phone thing now. It
Yeah.
was more accurate when the book came. Now it doesn't feel as exciting as it did when the book came.
Yeah, it's gotten a little stale.
Yeah,
Best way to say it.
yeah, but still Cusack get my attention, so
Absolutely.
I'm hopeful.
Our next item is, you go to Han's site, you can see there's some new photos of Stephen King. There's links in the September 30th article, and there's an article from the Guardian, a British paper. And I have to say that this is the first time that he's really looked old.
Yeah, yeah.
They're not
And
very complimentary pictures.
no, no. I like the one where he's sitting by the open fire, and
Yeah,
that picture I think is great.
yeah,
But the others not so. I don't know.
yeah,
It's how he looks now, I guess, but still, he looks
yeah.
old.
It just, I don't know. There's just something about the way the pictures were taken that makes him look older than I've ever seen him in any other picture. So I don't know if
Yeah,
it's lighting or just the way he combed his hair, but
yeah.
yeah,
I think he has a longer hair than he
yeah, it's
used to here.
combed straight back. There's no sideways part to it in that, but
Yeah.
he's kind of looking like one of his characters in it. Everybody gets older, so it is what it is, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
I'm just surprised. I would assume that he would have had approval of the pictures before they released, and I guess he was okay with them. And if he's okay with them, that's cool.
yeah,
Just,
yeah.
it's just not. They're just not as complimentary as previous pictures that we've seen of him.
Oh, well, they were fun to see.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. The last news item is that Kerry is now out.
Yep.
Finally, the movie we've been talking about ever since we started this podcast.
What will we do going forward? Yeah, it opened
Yep.
last Friday here. We're recording on the Sunday after it opened, so
Yep.
generally it seems to be split with the critics. There's no remarks about it being a bad movie. I think they're all happy with the technical aspects of the movie. A lot of their criticisms have to do with it's basically almost like a beat for beat remake of the original movie. So
Okay. It'd be interesting to see.
yeah, I still want to see it. Maybe the director Kimberly Pierce was too close to Brian De Palma because they are friends, and maybe she couldn't divorce herself from it. But the story really has a very narrow range within to work, so it's not like a story that you can do a lot of different interpretations of either. But we'll have to see. I think the one thing that I'm finding a little irritating is that they keep comparing it to the original. But
Yeah.
for a lot of the moviegoers, like my son, my teenage son, and that they've never seen the original. So for them, this will be the first time they've seen the movie. So I would have liked to seen a little more perspective from a first-time viewer. But because almost every review I've read, they keep mentioning the original movie and comparing it to that. So, I mean, if it's a faithful adaptation and it follows the book more, then I'll be happy because one of the criticisms I have of De Palma's is that technically he couldn't do the full impact of especially of the climax of the novel from the gym onwards. And if this movie is able to do that because special effects have progressed since then I'll be happy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess it's hard to find some reviewers that hasn't seen the original. I mean,
yeah,
even if you're young, many of them have seen the original as well. Anyway, so
yeah.
But it would definitely be nice to hear from someone who hasn't seen the original.
Yes.
And seeing it with different eyes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So that is the news
This is great. What's our job? We'd like drive around, pick up stiffs or what?
It's time for reviews from the night shift.
Now we're going to move over to do some reviews of shows, TV shows, and we're going to start with Under the Dome. When we left, we were at episode 9, so there was 3 episodes left, 10, 11, 12. Speak of the Devil, Exigent Circumstances, and Curtains. So, Hans, what did you think of the last 3 episodes?
Well, I didn't like the first 9. That much we can remember from our earlier podcasts.
Yep.
I can't say I liked the last 3 any better.
Yeah. What your biggest complaints? What's the Dome being made a character?
Yeah, that's my biggest problem.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dome speaking to them and telling them what to do, and this butterfly is, I don't know. It's even hard to talk about it almost. But no, I think I'm so disappointed in this one.
Yeah.
I don't like it at all. I'm sorry, but the biggest problem is the Dome is being as a character.
Yeah.
This butterfly is naming someone, crowning someone, and most of the acting is either just okay or pretty bad.
Mm.
So, and with those 3 things, you can't be good. You have to have good acting and story. I mean, you had that story plot with this underground club, and I mean, it was totally pointless. So I'm sorry. I'm disappointed, very disappointed with it.
Yeah, it's a bitter pill to swallow, especially, and we've mentioned this in our other podcast, because the creative team behind this, also worked on Lost, which strength was the character interactions. And Under the Dome book is King really doesn't care about the Dome, and his solution to the Dome was for the weakest aspect of the book. But it was the interactions of the characters that he really nailed, and this is the piece of this TV series I find has totally missed the mark. If viewers remember episode 9, Julia finds out that Barbie is the one who killed her husband, but then she goes through this quick explanation of, but he did it for the insurance money, so for you killing him, that makes it okay. Yeah. I don't like to sleep alone in bed at night. Neither do I. Real people don't talk like that. And she should have been totally pissed at him and want nothing to do with him. But it's like that there wasn't any build up that the fact that her and her husband had any sort of tension between the two of them, or having a terrible marriage, but she just acts like he took out Barbie's taking out the garbage or something like that. Like it just, it's just totally unbelievable behavior like that just undermines anything that's happening in this show.
Yeah.
What else did we have going on there? And then I think that was the episode where Jim shot Maxine. Oh no, actually, yes it was, but first Maxine shot Julia, and then Barbie and Rennie hunt down and find Maxine. Rennie kills Maxine, but blames Barbie for it. And so Barbie takes off. And that was that Maxine character was kind of a waste too then, so.
Yeah, and one thing that I had major problem with was when Dodie finds out that Big Jim is a killer.
Yeah, killed the priest.
And her first reaction is she's frightened and scared, and that's okay.
Yep.
And then she just switched and let me help you.
Yep.
And I know when I posted this on the site, many people comment that she was just doing it to save her own ass, but basically. but
it didn't play like that though.
No, I think I didn't see her doing it as a smart plan to fool Big Jim. I think her brain just melted and she didn't remember what she had said.
Yeah.
And then when he kills her, she's like, "What? Are you killing me?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "He's a killer. What did you think?"
Yeah. Surprise.
Yeah. Yeah. It had so many mistakes in it.
Yes, it did. And then we had, in the next episode, Exigent Circumstances. Big Jim has caught Barbie and told him that he's going to confess to his sins, and that and they're putting up the hangman's platform, so that doesn't. And then Jim gets out there and he says, "So you're going to confess?" And he says, "No." Big Jim acts all excited, and I always felt like it was like a scene out of a Monty Python movie, the Holy Grail, where witch.
Yeah.
It was totally ridiculous. Yeah, so that was witch.
Yeah.
Burn him, or something. I was just going seriously? And then, like you said, the whole aspect, which sort of came to head in the Curtains episode, was the other the kids were trying to find out who the monarch was.
Yeah.
And it didn't really make any sense that it was Julia.
No.
I don't understand why she was the monarch. They never explain that, and they never explain what the whole thing about the butterfly was.
No.
It's banging off of the mini dome, causing the big dome to turn black. Well, yeah, okay. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to any of that stuff.
No. And I think that's my biggest problem with it, that it's so many things that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So many things that happen that you just, what? What is this? Why is this happening?
Exactly.
And then no explanation or anything. It's just very strange.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
You don't understand
and
why.
And then the final example of that is, so Julia's the monarch and she's got to protect the egg. So she throws it in the lake. I'm going, like, what? What purpose does that serve?
Yeah.
So it's just crazy things like that. And you get other characters like Junior. First he hates his dad, then he loves his dad, then he hates his dad. Depending on what they need in a particular episode or moment. And some episodes you go from love to hating him and back to hating him, and within the same episode, it's just so inconsistent.
Yeah. I get the feeling it's like one of those daytime soap opera sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is definitely not a good thing.
Yeah, and this is definitely a series of where the story controls the characters as opposed to instead of the story being tailored to fit the characters. It just doesn't make any sense. There was only one thing that I thought was interesting is when they saw that, I think it was the mother that had died, and she said that they had put the dome up to protect them. And I thought, well, if that means like the rest of the world is going to get wiped out or something, that could be interesting. But who knows where they're going to go with that. There's no way to predict with the show because it doesn't have any sort of logical consistency to its mythology. So
they probably have forgotten it when the season 2 come back.
Yeah, it still staggers me that the show got the ratings that it did and that it got renewed. I just think it was lucky circumstances. It was really well promoted, and it came out at a time when there wasn't a lot else on TV at the time. It'll be interesting to see how it does in its second season.
Yeah, I think it was a lot to do with that it didn't have any competition. And as you say, I mean, they have Stephen King's name, they have all those people from Lost, and they have Steven Spielberg, and they did a great promotion job with it, definitely. So I think people started watching it, and well, there's nothing else on, let's watch this. And so I think the show did as well as it did because of the circumstances, not because it was a good show.
I have to be honest that at this point, I would drop the series if we weren't doing the podcast. Plus, the fact that Stephen King is writing the first episode of the next season has got my curiosity up too.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to be able to write the boat. I tend to doubt it because he's just one voice in a big team that's making this project. So yeah, I'll be curious to see how his episode turns out, and I'll also be very curious to see what the ratings are for the premiere, because my expectations are it's going to be a lot lower than it was for any episode that they aired this season.
Definitely. There were two interviews done that were pretty interesting to read. One they did with Neil Baer.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, and he seemed very happy with season 1, and that makes me even more nervous. And
well, they're not going to say.
Then they did one. Yeah, then they did one with Brian Vaughan,
who
didn't seem that happy with season 1 in that interview.
Yeah.
Which in the other hand gives me hope for next season that he maybe can turn it around and make something good of it.
Yeah.
So not even they can agree on if it was good or bad.
Yeah, which is a bad sign in itself.
Yeah, definitely.
But they really have to write the boat with these characters. If you're going to set a character out to be a certain way, then they have to act that way throughout the season. Don't make them flip and flop like fish out of water. It just boggles on my mind how poorly the characters have been handled in the show, especially since these guys were lost showrunners. It's just unbelievable. And I'm sorry to any of our listeners out there who watched the season and enjoyed it, but for myself and for Hans, we're both down on the dome.
Yeah. But please contact us and tell us why we are wrong if you think we are wrong.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear people argue with me and telling me why I'm wrong.
Yep.
And explain it to me. Yep. What did I miss?
Defend Joe. Come on.
Yep.
Him drawing. Oh, that was so bad. Crayons.
Yep.
Making pictures. Okay.
Yep.
Let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on to Haven, season 4, who is now 6 episodes into season 4 as we record this. We have only seen the first 5.
Yep.
But before we start talking about them, I want to mention that season 3 is out on DVD. And something interesting in this one is that there is a 16-page small comic book included called After the Storm. And this one is done to explain what happened after season 3 ended. If you're listening to this, you have seen season 3, and if you haven't, you might want to go and see that before you listen to me spoil it for you. And everyone who doesn't want to know how it ends has left. In this comic book, see Nathan standing after the barn has disappeared, calling for Audrey, and finds Jordan hurt on the ground, and together with Dwight saves her, and all hell is breaking loose on Haven. I think they have taken everything they can come up with. There are frogs all over the ground, there are houses burning, people falling down from roofs, snakes coming up, bugs, earthquakes, everything you can think of. It's going to hell, Haven.
Like the plagues of Egypt.
Yeah. So they are setting out to help a guy called Brendan. I'm not sure who that is actually, but he is causing the earthquakes. So they are trying to cool him down to make it stop. As Dwight and Nathan help each other, they manage to calm him down. And as the smoke settles, we see someone. You can only see his shadow almost, or contours, but he's sitting behind the mark of the Guardians, and he says, "But Nathan Werners must die." And then the comic ends. Yeah, so I'm not sure if this is going to... It hasn't been much of it in season 4 yet of this. We know the trouble didn't stop,
right,
as they were supposed to, and we know that Duke is missing, Audrey is missing, Nathan is also missing, it turns out. And Dwight is now running the town as the new sheriff.
Which you probably like.
Yeah. I like him.
Yep.
I'm glad he's gotten a bigger part. I think he's great, actually.
Yeah.
And as the season starts, we get to find out that Duke is thrown out of the barn into a big fish tank. And I actually like that twist when it turned up in that fish tanks rambling about being in a barn for 6 months. And so also he goes back to Haven after waking up in the hospital, or he finds Nathan, now no more police chief, and now making his living by having people beat him up for money because he can't feel anything. So he's the perfect one.
Yeah.
They pay him and they get to smacking him around. So I think that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So how did you how did you think they managed to cover up for what happened in the season finale of season 3?
Well, as everybody remembers with the finale from last season, with the barn disappearing with Audrey and Duke inside of it, we really had no clue as to where the show was going to go. In that, how far would they jump ahead? We did figure that they would jump ahead a couple of months, which is what happened. But after the episode aired, it made sense to me, or it actually was like, of course, this is exactly what would have happened. So it wasn't a big surprise to me how things had played out. I expected there would be a reset with Audrey, not remember who she was and things like that, and that the troubles were continuing. So for the most part, the episode really played out quite sensibly. I didn't mind it, but I was a little bit let down as well because of that, because I was hoping for something a little crazier. So that's more my expectations as opposed to what the show did. I think what the show did was perfectly fine. I think that the first 2 episodes were okay, but I found the show picked up in the 3rd episode quite a bit. And so overall from the season, I would have to say so far that I'm really liking it quite a bit now. I was a little worried with the first 2 episodes, especially that second episode. I thought was a step down, but that's kind of normal when you're doing a big reset like this. You set up all these things in the first episode, and then the second one you have to start doing the spade work, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't really find the spontaneous combustion trouble, to be that the story wasn't that interesting. And I'm curious, Hans, how you felt about Audrey or Lexi in the bar scenes.
Yeah. Well, at first I didn't really know what to make of them. Had she turned up in another place?
Yeah.
Was she in the barn? What was going on? And I think the scenes worked, but it made me wonder, who was that guy?
Yeah.
Why were he there and helped her?
Yeah. William.
Why was she working in a bar? Is there a reason why there was a bar and not a supermarket? Or cleaning lady or Y bar. And I didn't really like the thing with the door when she opened it and she saw the storm out there. And I would have preferred if she would have opened it and she would just have stepped into a different place where she would going to end up, not having that strange place in between.
Yeah.
But yeah, it works.
Yeah, I did like the final image though when the door was on our side, and it reminded me of like the drawing of the three, right, in the Dark Tower.
Yeah.
So I did like that, and I assume that was an on-purpose reference to the Dark Tower series.
Yeah.
My problem with the bar scenes is, and Colin Ferguson, who played William, he's a sci-fi regular actor. He was on Eureka as a sheriff for the run of that series, so he's a familiar face to any of the sci-fi viewers, and he's a good actor.
Yeah.
I like him.
Yeah.
But by the time they got to the point where Audrey or Lexi re-entered back into Haven, I just thought to myself, well, I hope this guy comes back, because within the context of what they used him for, I don't think they used his character enough. So I'm hoping that he will show up in Haven at some point, and he made a reference to, so I don't know if that means that he's talking about another group and whether or not Audrey is part of that group, and it's that her and William are actually the same kind of beings or something, but that we've been told that Audrey's human. So that part of the mythology I find kind of interesting. I guess the only really problem I had with the bar scenes is I think they could have done those scenes in half the episodes and got Audrey back into Haven in the third episode instead of the fifth. Yeah. After halfway through, I was kind of going, okay, we know where she is now. She's still in the bar, and let's get her into Haven and let's get the real story going. So I found they dragged that out a little bit, and that's really my only two complaints. Is the first two episodes I wasn't that crazy about, and Audrey was in the barn too long. But I thought by the time we got to the third episode with the blood, I thought that was a really creepy trouble, and I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, I think they dragged out on that so that they can establish this other woman.
Jennifer.
I've forgotten her name.
Jennifer.
Yeah. So I think they needed to establish her first, and if they would have brought Audrey back too fast, they would have lost that chance, I think.
Yeah. I understand what they did, but I just felt like I was 2 episodes ahead of the show. I was waiting, okay, we know what's going on now. Get her back to Haven. Let's get the real story going. And it took another 2 episodes to get to where I wanted it to be. So Jennifer character, she's okay, I guess. I don't know what purpose she's going to have going forward. It sounds like from the episode 5 that she's going to stick around on Duke's boat. Yeah. I do like the town dynamics, and I was actually really surprised that Jordan returned this season. I thought that her arc was done last season. Yeah, but she's becoming a bit tiresome when she tries to kill him all the time. Yeah. I mean, she knows Audrey have to kill him to make the trouble stop. So what's her problem? Yeah. And like she won't accept it. Yeah, and like you, I enjoy seeing Dwight as a sheriff, especially since he's wearing that bulletproof vest all the time.
Yeah.
That's a good sight gag. I quite enjoy that. Yeah. I find Nathan's willingness to let himself be killed, I don't know, that just doesn't strike me as a normal reaction for anybody. I know he's been through a lot in that, but still, nobody really wants to die that badly. Like he wants to see Audrey so badly, but then as soon as he sees her, he wants her to kill her. Like, don't you think he'd want to spend a couple of hours with her first or something?
Yeah. So. Maybe he's hoping he'll get the night first, and then she kill him in the morning, like those spiders.
Yeah.
Of the day.
Yeah. And I love the surprise that Audrey is faking who she is, playing Lex.
Yeah.
Because I was really thinking, they're going to use this as a reset to drag it out all season long. Yeah. So it's cool that she knows who she is. Well, William said that you would come back as who you really want to be, and she came back as Audrey, which is good, but she's been pretending to be Lexi, and she's had some good lines. Like she's talked about drugs, and she's always hungry and stuff like that, and she calls him Nathan cheekbones, and Duke gets a kick out of that. I like where they're going with this, and obviously she doesn't want to kill Duke, so she's trying to buy time to find a solution. So I assume that's where the series is going forward.
Yeah, and it's smart of her to pretend that she's someone else and she doesn't know Nathan, because she can't kill him if she doesn't love him, and as long as she doesn't know him, she can't kill him. So it's very smart of her.
Yes, and it was interesting the last episode too, that the boy with the trouble, most of the time they make the person with the trouble, you sympathize for them because they have this power and they don't want it. But this guy, he's just not a very nice guy.
No.
So when he does die, you don't feel bad for him at all.
No.
Yeah, that was well played, and that was kind of cool that Duke figured out from that Lexi was really Audrey. So
yeah. So far I think they have done a great job this season.
Yeah.
One thing I have a little problem with is that I don't very much like Vince anymore.
Yeah, they're becoming a little bit annoying.
Yeah.
The two brothers, yeah, Dave and Vince.
Yeah.
They're complaining too much, or they're too over the top all the time.
Yeah, and especially Vince, who's supposed to be the leader of the guards, and
Yeah.
I don't really see him as a leader.
No, he's not acting.
He's disguised very well if that's the case. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope they are going in the background for some episodes.
Yeah, we'll have to see. And now that Audrey is back, that might push Dwight in the background a bit too, which would not be a good thing, I don't think. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have some episodes left. I think there will be 13 episodes, if I'm correct, in this season.
I believe so. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
13. So we're
Yeah,
almost
so we
halfway.
have 8 left.
And overall, I just have to say that I'm pretty happy with this season, especially once from the 3rd episode on. Once in a while, production budget limitations raise their ugly head. The monsters in the 4th episode with the young kids with the wigs and the teeth and the claws, that didn't look too good.
Yeah.
But still,
No.
the story was interesting. And
Yeah.
I really thought that the blood episode was really well done. And the last episode with this teenage boy with the power to take over bodies, I thought that was well done.
Yeah.
But once he took over Duke, you knew that he was going to kill himself. Then you knew that wasn't going to work. So, but still,
Yeah.
going to be interesting to see how long Audrey can keep fooling Nathan, how soon William if he's going to show up in Haven or not, and what happened to the black entity that was part of the barn. Did Nathan really kill him, or is William his replacement?
Yeah, and I want to make one more point before we leave Haven. There has been some comments when we have complained about Under the Dome, which we just did earlier in this podcast, that it's still more Stephen King than Haven, who's nothing to do with Stephen King anymore, and such a comments. And I agree. Haven has so far now nothing to do with the Colorado Kid anymore.
Right.
It started there and it evolved into something else.
Yeah,
so
it's moved way past it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that spun out from a Stephen King book, but today has really nothing to do with Colorado Kid.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we are talking about it is that its origin is from a Stephen King book, not that it's supposed to be any Stephen King now. So,
Right.
And I think that's the difference. Under the Dome is actually saying that it's based on the book.
Yeah.
Haven is more saying that it's spun out of the book.
Right.
So.
Yep. Good point.
Yeah.
Yep. Which is fine.
Yeah.
So that's where we stand. I'm looking forward to the next back half of the season. And
Yeah.
it would be great if our listeners would chime in with their thoughts on what they're thinking so far of this season of Haven and whether they're liking it better than last season or not.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully someone will talk to us with a widget and leave a voice message.
Please.
We have gotten one so far, so
Yeah.
maybe we'll have to come up with a prize or something to get people.
Bribery. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
We are open for library.
So that takes us to the end of that review of Haven, and this concludes our podcast. We'll be back next month, and that will be a big one because then we've given everybody enough time to read Dr. Sleep and to see Kerry. So
Yeah.
we will be reviewing both of those in depth, and we'll have a guest or two on with as well. And is there anything else that you would like to mention at this point, Hans?
No, just that if you have read Dr. Sleep and if you have seen Kerry, please let us know what you think about him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But until then, and our next podcast will be out probably in 2 weeks, so stay tuned for that one. And
Yeah.
until then, stay safe, bud.
Stay scared.